The other day, I could have totally exploded something that didn't need to be exploded. Quite frankly, I'm like, I have done that so much in my life. I am so done with doing it. And it's nice to know that there's another way. Before we begin, I have a favor to ask. Pause for just a second to make sure you're subscribed. If you're ready for honesty, more self-trust, and more peace in your relationships, then you're in the right place. Okay, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that I am not the only person who struggles with self-sabotage. Sometimes I think that self-sabotage doesn't even sleep at night. It is working around the clock. I want to share with you guys something that has been extremely helpful for me in identifying the moments when I'm self-sabotaging. It is just one simple question that will literally snap me out of it a lot of times. So a couple years ago, I read this book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. I know I've shared about it here on the podcast. I talk about it all the time in our membership. It is a book that illuminated so much for me and gave me words to something that I constantly experience. The author, Gay Hendricks, he coined this term called the upper limit problem. He basically defines the upper limit as an unconscious internal mechanism that acts as a thermostat for how much success, love, joy, and abundance we allow ourselves to experience. And then when we exceed this self-imposed subconscious limit, we tend to sabotage ourselves to bring our levels of happiness back down to a more comfortable but lower familiar zone. What I loved about what he talked about in this book was how oftentimes if you're experiencing a lot of success or growth in your career or your work, oftentimes you find yourself picking fights or spiraling in your relationship or vice versa. And at the time that I was reading this book, I had just started my business and I was experiencing a lot of growth and it was really exciting. And I was picking apart my relationship. So it was such a great moment to begin to notice how I have these limiting beliefs and these self-imposed, I guess, capacities on how much good feelings I can allow myself to hold, and the tendency for this subconscious part of me to knock myself down a few pegs. I feel like I've touched on this a lot in some of the most recent episodes because this feels like where I'm really being expanded and invited to grow more is holding a greater capacity for more joy and more good feelings that, quite frankly, I haven't accessed before. And seeing how quick I am to knock myself down a few pegs to put me in a more comfortable zone. And the reason why I want to bring this here to the podcast today is because we are also reading his second book. I don't know if it's his second. He's written a lot of books, but this book is called Your Big Leap Year. And every single day for 365 days, I am sharing a prompt in our Codependency Alchemy membership chat that helps us in growing our capacity. And the other day, we had an invitation, or they're called our leaps for today. So we had this invitation to notice when we take a worry thought and we bring another person into it and then spiral in that worry, or like we almost create a bigger issue than was really there because it's like that misery loves company, right? And I almost did it. So I was like, I need to make a podcast episode about this because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And seeing it, as uncomfortable and sticky and tricky as it might feel and be, it is setting me free in so many ways. Like the other day, I could have totally exploded something in that didn't need to be exploded. And quite frankly, I'm like, I have done that so much in my life. I am so done with doing it. And it's nice to know that there's another way. So a couple things I want to touch on in today's episode is to share with you guys some key aspects of the upper limit problem. So first, I want to cover the 4 core fears that tend to drive our upper limit problem. The first one is the belief that we are fundamentally flawed. It's just the belief that something is wrong with you. The way that I've noticed this show up in my life is first, personally, in our conception journey and just my drive to be a mother. Every single month when I get my bleed, I get to validate this limiting belief that I am somehow fundamentally flawed. I tend to tell myself the story that my body is broken, something is wrong with me, and have that self-judgment every single month, which is why I just wrote a post recently about saying goodbye to my spirit baby, because this is no longer supporting me. It is acting as this fuel or this driver to self-sabotage my happiness and my joy because I'm using it against myself. Another way that this has shown up is in my work, where I see someone have something that I desire or that I want, maybe like land a TED Talk or grow their community or reach some sort of like financial milestone, and I immediately tell myself that I'm somehow doing it wrong, or I haven't figured it out, or I'm not doing it right. And it goes back to that inherent belief that I am fundamentally flawed. So again, this just sounds like something's wrong with me. I'm broken. I'm unhealed. I'm not good enough. All of those things can kind of fall under this limiting belief or this core fear of being fundamentally flawed. The second one is disloyalty and abandonment. It's the fear that your success is somehow abandoning your family. So it can look like I can't have that, or I can't do that because this person in my family can't do that. I can't have that success because these people couldn't have that success. It's basically like capping you out at what those who came before you were able to do, because you feel some sort of fear that your success is somehow going to hurt the people that came before you, or the fear that you're abandoning them, that you're exiling them in some way. The third is the burden of success. This is the belief that more success equals more responsibility. There's that song that's like more money, more problems, right? If I have more success, if I have more money, then people are going to want that from me, or I'm going to have to give to this person, or it will require me to do more in order to sustain it. The fear of the burdens of the responsibility of your success can be another core fear that comes up in ULPs. ULP is just another way to say upper limit problem. And then the last one, I really relate to the first one and this fourth one, which is the fear of outshining others. It's the fear that your success will make others feel bad, or it will cause them to dislike you. And in my life and in my experiences, I have found myself in friendships or connections where that has been true, where my success or my growth has caused some sort of rupture in some of my close friendships. And so that fear that of outshining somebody else definitely is something that I've resonated with and that I can relate to. And what ends up happening in that for me is that I end up making myself small or playing small or not thinking as big as I might have because of this subconscious fear that I might lose people in my life that I care about, or that somehow my success or my growth is triggering or upsetting to other people. And because I don't want to trigger or hurt other people, then I'll just make myself small. Okay, so I went to go grab the book because I really want to talk about what happened the other day, but I wanted to give you guys a foundation to understand upper limits and how they show up and the fears that are usually tied to them that drive us to knocking ourselves down a few pegs. But recently, the last couple of days in our membership chat, we've been talking about worry, because we tend to have a lot of worry thoughts, us anxious overthinkers. So the topic for the last few days has been around worry. But the other day, we were discussing when worry leads to conflict with others. And then literally the day that we had this as the invitation or the leap for the day, I almost did the thing. And it reminded me of the power around talking about these things and bringing our awareness to them, because we talked about it that morning. When I almost went and did the thing in the afternoon, I stopped. I was able to catch myself about to do the thing. And I truly believe it was because we had this talk in the morning around this thing. So I'm going to read the page to you because I think it's actually quite relatable, and a lot of you guys probably do this. And so I want to bring all of our awareness to this. Okay, so here's what it says. Worry often leads to conflict with others. Another way that worry thoughts cause us to upper limit ourselves is through conflict with others. When you're feeling good, your upper limits cause your mind to start streaming worry thoughts. Once the worries have dive bombed your good feeling, it's common to want to share your worries with others so they can join you in your negativity. Huh? If the person you share your worries with doesn't immediately start worrying with you, you'll start criticizing them until you start an argument. And voila, now you're both flailing around in a pool of negativity. This is an upper limit double header. You've brought your own energy down and you've created an additional source of pain for yourself in the area of the relationship. Man, I read that and was like, fuck, I do that. I do that. I do that and I've done that. And first, I think sometimes we can feel some guilt and shame around that, but I really want to implore you to see where you can bring curiosity to that and compassion, right? The worry and the bringing it to the other person is a way that your body has done this upper limit thing where it's saying, hey, expanding into this feel good feeling isn't safe, so we need to knock you down a few pegs, and we're going to do it through these worry thoughts. And then because the worry thoughts are cycling for us and we see somebody who's maybe operating at a bigger or higher frequency, we want to get them down to our frequency so that we can feel some sort of connection, right? Instead of allowing ourselves to rise to the frequency of peace or joy or ease. And so I would do this with Justin in the beginning of our relationship when there wasn't chaos and there wasn't this up and down emotional roller coaster, and I would pick fights over little things. And it's like, because my nervous system was like, hey, this is too peaceful, this is too easy, this is too calm, let's fight about the dishes and how they're going in the dishwasher, let's fight about the dog hair in the corners of the house and like pick a fight with him, instead of just being like, hey, can you put the cups on the top shelf of the dishwasher? Like, instead of just addressing it, I'm like trying to pick a fight over it because I want to get us down to this level. And it really does feel like a frequency, like this frequency that feels more comfortable to me. And that frequency is walking on eggshells, right? For example. So that's just the first part. So the leap for today part, I want to read that as well. It says, now that you know that arguments can be an upper limit symptom, take a deeper look at what's really going on. One conviction I've developed from decades of counseling is this: most arguments don't have anything to do with what is being argued about. Exactly. Like, I don't give a fuck about how the dishes are put in the dishwasher. Well, actually, I did give a fuck. And then I just gave a fuck because it was a way that I could try to knock myself down a few pegs. They stem from something deeper and are a highly effective way to send your energy plummeting. My point exactly. I just want to plummet the energy in the home. If you're doing this leap in the morning, bring this awareness with you as you go through your day. If at any point you feel like criticizing someone or catch yourself mid-criticism, or notice you've just lobbed a critical remark at someone, give yourself a timeout. Then take a deep breath and ask yourself, first, could this be a ULP symptom? Second, am I worrying about something related to my intended or delivered criticism? 3, or am I feeling ambushed by worry thoughts and just lashing out with criticism? If you're doing this leap at the end of the day, review your day, noticing if you had any fights or bickering with someone. This conflict might have been about something real, but look more deeply. See if you can identify what's really going on for you by using the above questions in the past tense. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you a true story about what ended up happening to me this same day. This was day 50. Nope. This was day 53 of 365. If you want to join us on this journey, you guys, join the membership because I post them every day. I do little videos every morning. Sometimes pictures, but mostly videos. And then there's usually an invitation to engage or interact in the thread. But what happened this day was I went to this amazing workshop that my friend hosted called Money Church. And it was just a room of amazing, powerful badass women, and we were talking about abundance. We're talking about abundance. She moved us through these different practices to help us just expand our capacity to hold abundance, to see where abundance already exists in our life. And anyways, it was amazing, and I was buzzing leaving there. I just felt so full. I felt so excited. I felt so nourished. And I left to go grab lunch because although nourished energetically, my physical body was not nourished, so I needed to get food. And I kid you not, on my drive to get food / go home, I immediately started criticizing someone in my head, and immediately thought, I need to reach out to them and see if what I'm thinking is real, and just reality check myself, and see if like what I was feeling was what I was actually feeling. And I was like, Alyssa, you just left an amazing workshop where you're feeling so filled up and so abundant. Could this be a worry thought? Could this be you bringing worry to another person to create conflict? Could this be you not feeling comfortable in this expansive feeling, in this frequency, and you want to bring yourself back down? Could this be an upper limit problem? Yes. Yes, it absolutely certainly could be. Could it also not be? Possibly. But what I decided was I was just going to allow this to be an upper limit problem and see if this feeling passed. And guess what? It did. So my whole intention and goal with this episode is to just give you guys this lens to see how we upper limit ourselves when we are expanding in our joy, in our creativity, in our abundance, in our happiness, in the peace and calm of our life. Because most of us operated at a place of chaos. Most of us have operated in dysfunction. And it's not our fault. There's reasons that happened in childhood that have led us to be that way. But it is our responsibility to start to rewrite a new story that is more aligned to how we desire to feel, because I don't think that we desire to feel and worry. So something that really shifted this for me, and what I want you to walk away with more than anything, is just to ask yourself, the next time you pick a fight, the next time you're feeling uncomfortable, the next time you want to bring something to somebody else, the next time you're worried, to just ask yourself, what happened right before this? What happened right before this? And was it positive? I don't like the word positive, actually. And what happened right before this, and what did you feel? Was it joy? Was it happy? Was it safe? Was it playful? Was it expansive? Was it creative? And if so, could this want, need, desire to go and create chaos just an upper limit problem? So that's my invitation to you. Every time you're telling yourself some of these core fears that I named, right? You're fundamentally flawed. This is going against your family. You're abandoning your family. My success is going to require more responsibility, or my success is going to hurt other people, or other people are going to not like me. When you're having one of those core fear beliefs, ask yourself, what happened right before this? What happened right before this thought, this worry, this fear? And was it a expansive feeling? Was it a feeling that you want to welcome more of? And if the answer is yes, then this is a ULP. This is an upper limit problem. And that doesn't mean there's anything wrong or bad with you, but this is just one of those moments that you're expanding into your capacity to hold more of your joy, of your creativity, of your happiness. And so remember that question. What happened right before this? If you have one of those core fears or beliefs come in, just ask yourself, what happened right before this? And then go into the inner child practice. What does this part of me want? What does this part of me need? And how will this part of me feel when they get that need met? That's what this practice is here for. That asking is the level of embodiment that is required to grow your capacity. So the other day when I read this that morning, had that experience that afternoon, that is what I asked myself. Could this be an upper limit problem? Yes. Okay, what is that part of me that wants to go and bring this worry to somebody else? What does that part of me want? That part of me wants to know that everything is okay. What does that part of me need? Validation, reassurance, right? And I'm seeking it by bringing it to somebody else instead of sourcing it for myself. That's the codependent piece, right? You tell me that we're okay so that I know that we're okay so that I can be okay, right? But really the work is I create that reassurance for myself, right? How will that part of me feel when they are reassured and they get that validation? She'll feel safe, calm, at ease. Okay. And so then I met that part of me and I said, it makes sense why you want to go to this person to get that reassurance. It makes sense why you feel that way. I see you. I love you. We are okay. Everything's going to be okay. If there was something that was off, it will be addressed and you will know how to handle it and everything will be okay. Until then, we're safe. All of that took like 2 minutes to witness and see and hear myself and validate myself. And I just said, if it's still an issue tomorrow, if it's still an issue a week from now, we'll talk about it then. But guess what? I felt fine ever since. I've had conversations with this person since. Everything was fine. Like it was just something made up in my mind exactly after an amazing, expansive morning. Sometimes I think we fear putting it down because what if it's real? But also, what if it's not? And can you just allow there to be some space between the initial fear and worry and actually taking action so that we're not taking action from a worried place and a dysregulated place, but taking action from a place that feels grounded. And so I hope that this was supportive. I hope that this conversation was helpful, that it maybe illuminated some things for you and helped you feel less alone in some of the core fears that come up because they are so universal. And yeah, this book has been such an expander already. And we're not even 100 days in, like we're only 50 days in. So I'm telling you, if you want constant support, some nuggets so that you're not just looping and spiraling in the worry, but invited to expand your capacity for more and to see what is possible and to do it alongside others, please join our Codependency Alchemy membership. I know you guys hear me talk about it all the time, but I invite you because it is powerful and because I truly believe in this work and this community that we've built is just, it's better than I could have ever dreamed. Every morning you get a video from me with the invitation. And that is just one aspect of the membership that to me, honestly, is worth the whole annual membership in and of itself. So if you want to learn more, check out our Codependency Alchemy Substack. You can even sign up as a free subscriber if you just want to dip your toe in and then decide later if you want to join the paid. But if you're like, you know what, I am ready to be surrounded by people who are taking charge of their lives, that are building safe and secure relationships with themselves first so that they can receive it from others, then just check the show notes or description box below, or you're always welcome to DM me and I'll send you all the details to join. That's what I have for you guys. I love you so freaking much. Thank you for witnessing me. Thank you for being open to seeing another way. May these worry thoughts just be access points for us to see ourselves more fully and see where we are growing our capacity to receive more love, safety, joy, ease, peace, all the things. Because that's all this moment is. All those moments are the exact moment that says, look, you're expanding. And it's just seeing if you'll contract. And sometimes we do, okay? I have to say that before I hop off. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we contract. Sometimes we bring the worry to somebody else. Sometimes we, self-sabotage. Sometimes we be doing that shit, and that's okay too, because it's all just walking us home and we always get to where we're going. I love you all so much. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.